So as we come online together today, um, the fourth day, the fourth day of the 9th week that we've been doing this together, dropping right into, I won't say why you're here, but that you're here. And that you're here, that we're all here together. And letting that fact and the motivation and the intentionality behind it just embrace us all as we drop into this moment. And take up residency in awareness. With the lightest of touches, and yet at the same time, as if our very lives depended on our willingness to be fully embodied, fully present, fully awake. And of course, as we know, it does. And simply settling in. Grounding yourself in one sensation or another. Usually, often it's the breath sensations in the body or sounds or something that tethers you, that anchors you into the present moment, and it can remind you and rebody you when we get lost in the turbulence of our own thought processes and storms in the mind, emotional currents, and really underscore coming to rest right here in this moment in awareness itself. We could say that it's really a moment of arriving, of coming home. And you remember that poem if you've been around for all of these weeks. At some point, I offered Derek Walcott's beautiful poem, Love After Love. And I'll voice that now as a kind of glide path into the practice today. The time will come when with elation, you'll greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back yourself to yourself. To the stranger who has loved you all your life, who you have ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. So what an invitation, especially in a time of such craziness, such sorrow, such confusion, such uncertainty. All the more important to not lose touch with who we really, really, really are. That maybe we have been a stranger to or estranged from and caught up in narratives that are far too small and far too toxic And then maybe just blaming everything else, everybody else, or outer circumstances, rather than just realizing they're fabrications to begin with, and we're already whole. There's no place to go, nothing to do, nothing to attain. And here we are. So let's be here, breathe here, listen here, settle here, falling awake, moment by moment by moment. Eyes open, fine. Eyes closed, also fine. Whatever helps you tune your instrument so that you really have the intention and the opportunity to not be so caught by the past or the future, by the weather patterns in the mind and the heart, and just embracing it all in awareness. Effortlessly. And now, here we are. Noticing if you're struggling in any way or idealizing what you should be feeling, as opposed to simply making sure the welcome mat is out for whatever you're feeling. The invitation is to be at home right here, right now, with things exactly as they are. And it's really hard to know exactly how they are in the outer world. But in the domain of being, you know, in a wide range of different ways, exactly how things are in this moment. And this interior landscape, so to speak, of your own experiences is really important and trustworthy. And when the things are as crazy and stressful and uncertain as they are in the outer world in the midst of this pandemic, allowing yourself to learn or teach yourself how to stabilize the attending and come home to your own awareness and learn how to inhabit it as your default mode, so to speak, your go-to mode, your home base, if you know anything about baseball. So in that sense, there's no way to fail at this practice as long as you're aware of whatever's unfolding. It doesn't have to have a prescribed curriculum of positive thoughts or positive emotions, so-called. No, it's all part of the curriculum. And the real challenge is, how am I going to be in wise relationship to whatever is here, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the full catastrophe, if you will, of the human condition, right in this moment. And it's not about the next moment, and it's not about the past moment, in the same way as it's not about the next breath, and it's not about the past breath. So it's an enormously forgiving practice, mindfulness, as well as enormously illuminating, because every moment and every in-breath is literally, figuratively, metaphorically, a new beginning. A new invitation to, as Derek Walcott says, greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, in your own body, in your own heart. And to sit literally now, but metaphorically always, feasting on your life, especially in the more difficult times. Taking nothing for granted and staying balanced, equanimous, clear. And we're exercising those muscles moment by moment by moment as we sit here. Sometimes it will seem busy, other times it will seem like the opposite of busy. But as long as there's no forcing, no striving, no idealizing, no attempt to experience something that you're not and avoid experiencing what you are, you're home free right here in this moment. And moment by moment, which is why it's worth extending the practice out in time, formally as well as informally. And where my words are hopefully not obstacles to your experiencing any of this, but just kind of reminders, pointers, and with a lot of encouragement to drop underneath them or tune them out even, and just rest in your own being, the knowing. In this timeless moment, not measurable by any clock. And where there's no before or after, it's just this. And maybe you really are at home and just sometimes we forget or don't realize it. And the fact that we've been together for 9 weeks and doing this for so long, that realization may be creeping up on you, that we're not trying to fill this space with a lot of stuff, even meditation instructions or fancy techniques. You are the meditation practice. You are the curriculum. Life is the meditation practice. Life is the curriculum. And it's all already here. Can we live it? We can. We can. We are. We are. And the world needs this desperately at the moment. So let me close out this period of guided meditation together with another poem, brief, short poem to bookend the Love After Love by Derek Walcott. Same message in a way. This is by the poet David Whyte, Whyte. Many of you probably know and love his poetry. And this is a very brief poem that's called Enough. Enough, these few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here, this opening to the life we have refused again and again until now. Until now. Enough, these few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here, this opening to the life we have refused again and again until now. Until now. You can see it's the same as Eric Walcott's invitation to feast on your life. And when he says sit, he doesn't mean just sit down and eat. I mean, the kind of sitting we're engaged in is 24/7. Throughout our day, throughout our lives, alone, together, with family, without family, dealing with whatever it is that we're dealing with. And let me just segue into an observation as I continue to follow the news and see what's going on as we move out of the stricter kind of social distancing and so forth. To keep in mind that there's an enormous amount of stress associated with, any kind of a change in our circumstances, especially since, there's no testing or not enough testing, it's certainly in my country, for knowing who has COVID, who doesn't, and what our risks are. So there's every reason to be sensible about it. And one of the most beautiful things about life itself is that life is kind of grounded in kind of approach behaviors, they're called, where we like seek out food or light or warmth or the kinds of things that keep us alive. And also avoidance behaviors move away from toxins, from toxicity of all kinds, because those are exactly the kinds of things that don't keep us alive, but in fact threaten us. And so how do we actually gracefully move between approaching or opening to the circumstances that are changing all the time and hanging back and just being, cautious. And this will be a calculus that we'll be doing really moment by moment by moment for months, based on whatever evidence is, being given to us by the, powers that be or the experts or whatever it is. And I just want to mention that there are really healthy ways to respond to stress. And there are really sort of unhealthy ways to respond to stress. And those unhealthy ways are more like reactions rather than responses. So distinguishing, mindfully responding to constantly changing and scary circumstances versus mindlessly or automatically reacting and falling into fear states or aversion of one kind or another, and even anger and sadness, depression, with all of the ways in which our lives have been upended and our usual support systems really often unavailable to us. So just to remind you that this is as much a part of the meditation as anything else, to be aware of, how we interface with the impulse to approach, to get close to something that we've been missing, and also to hang back and avoid because we don't know what the risks are. So that is baked into our DNA as living systems. But we can bring enormous amount of mindfulness to it, and that can have a huge effect on how much stress we actually wind up experiencing, and also how maladaptively we adapt, because a lot of people handle stress by abusing substances of one kind or another, or abusing people, or abusing themselves. And so this itself, or falling into sort of various kinds of depression or mental health challenges, I just want to say that there's over 40 years of research that's saying connecting with what's deepest and best in you in the various ways that we've been doing, including taking care of the body and exercising and eating right and being moderate when it comes to alcohol and various other kinds of things that sometimes we use when we're really stressed to just make it all go away or feel good, that this is going to be more and more important as the coming weeks unfold, and that this is a huge part of the curriculum, not just of MBSR, of mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy and mindfulness-based eating awareness training and mindfulness-based relapse prevention around alcohol and all of these kinds of things that have developed over the past 40 years. But really, I'm saying this more to just underscore for you how important your ongoing practice is in the days and weeks and months ahead. And probably this group of people, however many thousands of us there are at this particular moment, we're the people that least need to hear what I just said, because you already know it. And if you didn't, in some sense, you would not be here. But to keep it in mind also in terms of compassion for other people who are really not having the benefit of this kind of support from ongoing, regular, liberative meditation practice in the form of mindfulness. And to do what we can to really tilt things in the direction of well-being for the short haul and for the long haul. So that said, and again, for newcomers, I'll just say, you notice I'm not saying, okay, the meditation's over and now I'm talking and that's something else and now we're going to dialogue or questions. It's all part of the meditation practice. Life itself is the real meditation practice. And so let's not create artificial barriers or containers that say this is what it's all about, because it really is relevant to every moment and every aspect of our lives, especially if we've been refusing, as David White's poem said, certain aspects of our lives until we got here. And again, I want to say before we go to Q&A, how delighted I am to be here with you every day that we're together. It's just wonderful and very uplifting to just feel the energy and the intentionality that we're all, in some sense, participating in and providing for each other. I love that. So over to you, Soren. And also just a reminder,
Wonderful.
We'll be breaking up into smaller groups for a second hour for those of you that care to join us.
Yeah, so if you have a question, you can click participants and you'll see a bar open to the right, at least if you're on a desktop. I'm not quite sure how it works on a phone. And there'll be a option to click a button which will raise your hand, and then you'll see a bunch of lists of people. And just know that if you choose to be on the video, you're not only going to show up here or show up, you'll also show up on the larger internet. And again, apologies, we have, so usually after the session's over, I just leave the stream on for an hour or two because people love to hang on and chat. Yesterday I forgot, so it was 12 hours streaming, and so we seem to have exceeded a certain YouTube capacity. So sadly, we were not able to stream on YouTube, and I know we now pushed it over to Facebook, so some of you are able to watch it on Facebook now. So apologies for that. Hopefully we'll get that all straightened out soon. And if you are one of those people who want to stay late, we're going to have to cut that off, I think, from now on for after about an hour. So, but as again, Jon said, today we're going to be actually going into our small groups. And John Bashu and I will put a slide up at the end of this, and you can use that URL to join the small groups. And if you're watching on Facebook today, you can also join us. Just copy that same URL. I hope that was helpful. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties. I'm seeing Liora. Liora. Hi, Liora. It looks like I can ask you to unmute. Looks like you're unmuted.
Yes. Oh, hi. I can't believe it. Thank you. Thank you
You
so
have a
much.
light showing in right from the back. I don't know if there's a way to turn.
Yeah, sure. I can.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, perfect.
Much
Okay.
better. Much better.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel so, oh, now I understand what everyone is saying about my heart is pumping. I'm calling from Philadelphia, but I'm originally from Mexico. And I'm so honored to be here. I've been meditating and reading your books for years and years, and this is such an honor. And I want to say that I appreciate your generosity, Jon and Soren, and your open heart and your compassion. This has been a lifesaver for me, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Liora.
I had a very clear question for the last couple of weeks, but since last week that everything has started to opening up, or not, but people are starting to opening up anyway, I've been having another question. So it's highly related what you're saying, Jon, about wearing masks or being aware of where we are. And I'm struggling with my own reactions about people that are outside. I've seen in Philadelphia streets, people working out, running without masks. And it's not about, I'm afraid of, you know, having COVID. It's about the lack of consideration. But I've noticed that this is taking away my mindfulness or being grounded. And every time that I go out, I'm wearing my mask, you know, and like Dina said yesterday, it's uncomfortable. Of course it's uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
it's a small thing that we can do for everyone. I think that it's an act of love. But when I go outside, I cannot stop thinking. I'm almost obsessionate about why this person is not wearing that, why this person trying to read their minds. And this will go on and on because people are not social distancing, or some people are not wearing masks, or some people are doing, and I cannot, you know, this is out of my control, and I don't know how to manage that, like emotionally and mentally. And I don't know if you have something about that.
Well, I'm there with you. I mean, I feel those same kinds of feelings. You know, people have very, very different orientations about what we're actually experiencing. And some people feel immortal, or they just don't care. Some people think the whole thing is a hoax, and that it's just like the flu. So in the end, we just have to do what we think has the most integrity for us. And then, yes, you'll notice that, hey, not everybody's in agreement about this, or even mindful enough, or caring enough about others, we could say in our minds, to wear a mask for the benefit of other people. We don't actually know whether that's the truth or not, because we don't know what's going through anybody else's mind. But when we get angry, or when we feel fear, because underneath the anger is always fear of something. And so it's perfectly natural for this to happen, which is exactly why I mentioned stress reactivity and the potential for responding more mindfully and more compassionately to yourself, at least, when these kinds of contractions happen, as opposed to simply going with the reactivity, which has very bad consequences for you, for your mind, for your body, for everything, if that becomes a kind of steady diet. So then the practice then becomes noticing your own anger or fear in the face of all these people who are not doing what you think is the right thing. And then just staying in not knowing mind, because you don't actually know who they are, what they need, or anything else. And even if they're all doing the wrong thing and spreading COVID, there's nothing you can actually do about it. So it's like driving your car with the brake on to keep staying with the anger or the frustration or the uncertainty. And yes, it is unpleasant to wear a mask. And I'm, sort of, but I think that, for myself, I'll just say I'm erring on the side of being cautious and conservative because, the stakes are very, very high. And a lot of people they think they're immortal until then they discover that they're not immortal. And those of us who know that we're not immortal, we really need to, in some sense, take care of our own well-being, care for everybody else, but not mind other people's business. That's a major mindfulness practice in this particular era. But I think the benefits long-term to both yourself and your community and your friends and everything else are very high. And you can talk about this with other people. In fact, I think you should talk about it with your community to whatever degree you feel comfortable with it. So that at least the people in your closest circle may at least know how you're feeling about it.
Yes.
Does that make any sense to you? But don't make your thoughts and emotions and reactions about this the enemy. Like it's taking away my mindfulness. You said it's taking away my mindfulness.
Yes.
Nonsense.
Exactly.
Take away your mindfulness. Unless you give it up.
Yes.
If you give it up, then, that's on you. That's your responsibility. But that's why the practice is it's relentless.
Yes.
It will not let you off the hook. So in that sense, just allow yourself to be bigger than the small contractions, but don't deny the small contractions any more than you deny a sensation someplace in your neck or in your back when it's unpleasant or painful.
Okay.
And there's a lot to be learned from this. This is unfortunately part of the curriculum of the moment. And nobody has the right answer, but definitely I'm wearing a mask every time I go out, and I'm keeping, major distance, not for myself, but for everybody else, and certainly for the family members that I'm close with every day. Anything else?
No, I think that it's highly related with my previous question about how to be self-compassionate. So I think that talks a lot about self-compassion. So
good
you answered
insight.
both
Good insight.
questions.
Very good insight.
So,
you are being self-compassionate.
Yes.
By taking care of yourself and not losing all your energy in anger towards everybody else who's not behaving the way you think they should.
Exactly.
It's true. You can be equanimous about it. You can still disagree strongly with them, but as long as it's hurting you, it's hurting you.
Yes.
And so that's something you have agency over, so to speak. You can make choices around that. And then your anger and your fear are going to teach you something about the stability I was talking about, the stabilizer fins on the submarine that keep you moving without spinning around like crazy. I hate to use a submarine image, but not all submarines are for military purposes. But they do need stability.
Yes, to stay there. You're right.
Thank you. Well,
thank you
safe
so much. Thank you for your answer.
Thanks for being on this.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on this program with us. You're wonderful.
No, just the contrary. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am seeing Norbert. Welcome. Let's see. You are video spotlighted, Norbert, and I believe you are now unmuted. So you are live with us. Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Where are you calling from? And question, comment, reflection?
I'm calling from Nuremberg in Germany, and I don't know what where it will end. I'm very
Take your time.
honored
Take
and
your time, Norbert.
touched. And it's I don't know exactly. I'm something maybe I was hearing. I could not be here yesterday evening, but because I had something to do, and I was listening to or seeing the yesterday talk and meditation, and I think you said something, Jon, about at least as I remember, that the best way to take care of ourselves is to take care of others, and the other way around also. And yeah, that's something very touching. I think it also, and when I discovered this opportunity here, and I'm really also, like all the other people, very grateful and honored to be here. And I did not expect to be so touched and connected, and now I feel like I want to be here every evening, and I'm like it's not starting, but I'm really attached, and I'm like grasping on this.
Oh.
And yeah, but you were something also you said this week several times. You were starting from Memorial Day, I think, and I live in a town where there's a lot of reason to memory and to remember what has happened. And
I've been to Nuremberg. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and tomorrow I have a little workshop for the first time, and I have to wear the mask for like 4 hours, and I know it's nothing because a lot of medical care workers are using this. But I'm speaking or making a workshop with about mindfulness with the volunteers who are working in families with people with dementia. And so I only can lose something when I have once the recognition of mindfulness, or awareness. And I think it could be useful for people, for nurses or caring people.
Oh, sure.
And also for people with dementia. And I don't know if you have any suggestions or something to. I want to also talk or try to make another approach. You were talking to approaches, and I'm a gerontologist, and so and I always like to work with people with dementia because they are so uncontrolled in a positive way. I think they're so in with their emotions, and I like to invite these volunteers to not see them as different, even if they don't have their memory. And I don't know if you...
Well, they're still human beings. Let me try to pick up on some of the threads that you've offered us, Norbert, and especially in terms of, like, you're going to a real workshop tomorrow with real people who are all going to be wearing masks, and
first time,
it's the first time. So, you know, I can understand that there'd be a lot of concerns just about that. And then, of course, what to do. And if I heard you correctly, I heard that you would have the intuition that it would be valuable to, in some sense, bring the possibility of cultivating mindfulness to both the caregivers and the people themselves who have dementia. And first of all, there's a lot of work that's being done on that at the moment in various places. It's a very good idea, because so your instinct is absolutely right. But the most important thing is to not make it into a big deal, but to just be yourself and encourage everybody else to learn how to feel and then articulate their experiences, because there's a lot of suffering. I mean, there's a lot of grief. I mean, my father suffered with Alzheimer's for over 10 years, and I was with him an awful lot of time during those 10 years. The most important thing with people who are suffering from memory loss or dementia of one kind or another is to just be with them and allow things to be as they are. And they will feel that from you. And that's probably the most loving thing that you can do. Now, for the caregivers, it's incredibly stressful to take care of somebody who has dementia. So it's very valuable for them to learn how to resource themselves, both in terms of their own interior resources, like mindfulness, and how to use it to modulate very high stress levels. And also outer resources from, the German healthcare system and the community and everything else to do that. But your instinct is absolutely right that this can be of enormous value. And the biggest instrument that you have, the best instrument you have for affecting this in the meeting tomorrow or going forward or whatever, is your own being. So the more you're grounded in your own body and in your own multiple intelligences, so that you're not just coming from your thought structure about what would create an optimal meeting, the better off everybody will be, and probably the better an outcome you will have. And really, it's only a first step, because what I hear you also saying is that you want to, in some sense, create a community that learns together and grows together. And this is a gigantic problem in every country in the world now, and we do not know how to optimally navigate these waters. So, have fun with it.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything you want to ask me in having heard that, or are you pretty okay with it?
Both. I'm okay, but if you ask, I'd like to ask you something personal, if you would like to share, because you were mentioning your father and with Alzheimer's disease, and did you experience something like, kind of opening up or deeper connection, or that has not been possible before this happened?
Totally. And I've actually written about it in one of my books. So you can actually look it up. It's in a book that's called Coming to Our Senses. And there's a chapter in there, I don't even remember exactly what the title is, but it says, the subtitle is A Tribute to My Father. Okay, and
great.
it describes those 10 years. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I do that, and I like to thank you for your playfulness, or it's a playfulness and preciseness. I experience how you use language. It's so beautiful, and I was starting to read the book you suggested from David Abram.
Yes. Oh, The Spell of the Sensuous.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
listening that carefully.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Norbert. Thank you. Be well.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Wonderful. So just a note that it looks like somebody hacked our chat, so probably best, we're going to close it off for today. It's kind of one of these challenges that we all have, that when we open it, we open it for you all to have a conversation, but this has only happened twice, I think, in the 9 weeks, where somebody comes in and just writes horrible things. So we're turning that off today, and it's just a balance that we're trying to find to open it and let people talk. But if somebody comes in who has just mean intentions, we have to close it. Sukiana, you are spotlighted. Are you with us? Sukiana.
She may be asleep.
Yeah. Sukiana? Okay, that's the first time. We will come back to you. How about Jitu? Let's see. Jitu, you're spotlighted. Welcome, Jitu. I've just asked you to unmute, so I believe you're unmuted. So where are you calling from, and question, comment, reflection?
Hi, Jon and Soren. Thank you very much. I'm calling from Irvine, California.
Irvine, wonderful.
Right. Jon, thank you so much, because I've learned so much from listening to you and doing your MBSR program. And I've been doing meditation for about 10, 12 years. One thing always touches me is that, most of the time in the meditation community, they talk about meditation, but they don't talk about the 8, steps to the, mindfulness.
The Eightfold Path.
Yes. And because to me, those are the key factors associated with that. So if you can comment on that, it will be good.
Well, what you're talking about is the Buddhist tradition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and where mindfulness is really universal. It's synonymous with awareness. So it's not like the Buddha invented it, but the Buddha and those who followed him have given rise to a remarkably profound articulation of the power of mindfulness. And in the Buddhist tradition, based on a sutra that is supposed to be the Buddha himself directly saying it, mindfulness is often spoken of as the heart of Buddhist meditation. And the sort of the force that has the capacity to liberate pain and suffering and delusion, greed, hatred, and delusion. So this is very, very profound. And there's a whole map within the Buddhist tradition based on the Four Noble Truths, which is a particular condition that's in the form of a actually medical approach to the challenge of human suffering. And that is the Four Noble Truths. The first would be the diagnosis. And the diagnosis is like, not that life is suffering. This is often the kind of encapsulation of what the Buddha taught. He did not teach life is suffering. He taught that there is the inevitability of suffering in human life, and that we need to find a way to be in relationship to it. So the diagnosis is dukkha, or suffering. Suffering's not a great translation for it, as you probably know. It's anguish. I mean, there's, all sorts of people even translate it as stress. But there are many, many different nuances to dukkha, and it literally means a wheel that's kind of out of kilter. So it never quite right. So when you're happy, you're not happy because you're not going to be happy for long. It's going to be over. And when you're unhappy, you know that it's never going to end. So either way, you're in trouble. That's dukkha, and a lot of it is delusion because we don't understand the fundamentals of our own heart and mind and body. So then the diagnosis is dukkha. The second noble truth is the etiology, the source of all this dukkha, the original cause. And without going into some great detail, the original cause is self-identification, is a certain kind of clinging. And that's the root cause of this kind of adventitious suffering. The third is the prognosis. And the prognosis is excellent. The prognosis is, as long as you're breathing, it's excellent prognosis if you're willing to do a certain kind of work. And then the fourth noble truth is the treatment plan. How do you actually deliver the goods in the face of the diagnosis and the etiology and the prognosis? How do you actually liberate oneself? How does one liberate oneself from that suffering? And so the eightfold noble path is the fourth of the Four Noble Truths. So it's a kind of an elaborate model for cultivating awareness. And many Buddhist teachers speak of it as not being 8 separate things, but 8 facets of the very one thing. So if you go through, one of the Eightfold Noble Path is mindfulness. Another is concentration. Another is right speech and, right livelihood. So there are all sorts of different elements, but mindfulness is kind of like, holds them all, or could be understood as holding them all, so that they're all different doors into the very same room. And so that's kind of like the Buddhist sort of articulation of this universal capacity that we all have for open-hearted wakefulness or presence or awareness. And there's a huge literature on the interface now between more medical and psychological and neuroscientific studies around mindfulness and the original teachings, which are different in all the different traditions. So a lot of the different schools have very different definitions or views of mindfulness, and how limited or how profoundly, universal it is, all sorts of differences of opinion. So it's a very rich topic for investigation for people who like to feel, or who feel like it would be valuable for them to actually understand where this stuff comes from, because it is deeply, deeply woven into our humanity as a species. And the Buddha is often spoken of as like a doctor, like the physician of the world. He was a great teacher, but he was also like tending to the suffering of humanity, and at the same time understanding in a very profound way the nature of the human mind. And we're still at it, because none of us, not the greatest neuroscientists, do not understand how you go from, 86 billion neurons underneath the cranium of our skull, and another 86 billion glial cells, how you go from that, from stuff, from cells, from physicality to sentience, it's called, to wakefulness, to awareness. It's still the colossal mystery, and yet every one of us is the embodiment of it. So what a great adventure to be on. I don't know if what I just said is helpful to you, but that's what came up at the moment.
Yeah, it is very helpful. The one other question what I had in my mind was a curiosity regarding you started the MBSR in 1979. What was the thought or the origin of that instinct in yourself?
That's far too profound a question or long an answer to go into at this particular moment. So I'll give you my one-word answer, and then I've written a whole bunch of stuff about it, so you can read that stuff if you just Google stuff that I've written, more in the scientific papers than in books, but you can get it out of the books too. So my one-word answer is, and you'll understand this, although many people might not, karma.
Very good answer.
Okay.
Thank you so
it
much.
Looks like Sukyana. Can we go back to Sukyana?
Sure.
Because hi there.
Welcome, Sukiyama. Sukanya?
Yes, I can hear Soren. Yes, thank you.
Sukanya.
Where are you calling from? And we're kind of getting to the end, but we'd love to hear any comment or question you might have.
Yes, namaste, John, and thanks so much from the bottom of my heart to both of you. Sorry, I'm not able to speak. So,
Take your time, don't worry.
yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste. Mindfulness, I'm calling from England. I'm originally from India, but I live in England and I work with the NHS as a CBT therapist.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm from India.
Yeah.
Currently, I live in England and work as a CBT therapist.
Oh, with CBT. Okay, so for people that don't know what CBT is, cognitive behavior therapy.
Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy. Yes. I know mindfulness is applied in various areas and where it's been effective. And I've been practicing meditation from my teenagers and adapted to mindfulness since the time I moved to UK about 12, 15 years ago. I was initiated and taught directly by a guru in India. My question is, how do we apply mindfulness when working with torture survivors, please?
That question asked when we are basically out of time for the hour. I'm not going to start in on it, but I will tell you that there are people who are making this their life's work. And you can find them on the web. But I'll mention one in particular who I think I've mentioned before, a woman named Paula Ramirez, who has worked in South Sudan through the UN and who has worked at in the refugee camps on the border of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Cox's Bazar, it's called, the largest refugee camp in the world, with people who are refugees, the Rohingya people who were refugees from the genocide and torture in Myanmar.
Yeah.
But this is true, you know, in the United States, in the UK. I mean, there are people who have suffered torture in various kinds of ways and trauma of other kinds. And it's an art form as well as a science, how to approach people in that kind of a way, bringing mindfulness and heartfulness to that without forcing something on them as a kind of like a technique or a gimmick or some kind of aspiration that this will make everything magically better when they've experienced some of the most unspeakable horrors that human beings experience. And so, but I think if you just search out, and one way to find Paula Ramirez is through something called Breathe International.
Yes,
Breathe,
okay.
BREATHE International. It's based in both Switzerland and in Colombia, South America. And you'll find Paula Ramirez that way. And there's a whole community of people who are doing this kind of work. So thank you for your work and thank you for your question and coming back to us.
Thank you so much.
Be well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we're at the end of our time. And so for those of you who wish to stay on, we're going to break up into 2 groups. So John Bashu, my colleague, is putting up the group URLs now. So if you've done this before, it's the same as we've done previous days, previous weeks. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to close this Zoom in about a minute or 2. So this Zoom will close. You're going to enter one of these URLs in your browser, Firefox or Chrome or whatever you use, just like you're going to any website. And then as you punch in that address, a new Zoom session will open and we'll see you in that new Zoom session. And yeah, it's best to come. I know sometimes people have a little difficulty getting over there, but if you can come on the sooner side, it's easier because then everybody starts their groups at the same time. So please write this down, take a picture with your phone, take a screenshot, whatever it is, if you're interested. wisdom2conference.com/group1, wisdom2conference/group2, A to M in one, N to Z in the other. If you end up making a mistake and going to one and not the other, it's not a big deal. And so in a minute, I will close this and we'll all say goodbyes. And if you can't make it to the small groups, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Every weekday, we're continuing on. And if you can make it to the small groups, wonderful. We'll see you there in a few minutes. And again, small groups happen on Tuesday and Thursday right after the main session. And the small groups are really about us connecting, sharing from our own experience, sharing what the practice means to us, what we're learning or discovering as we engage in these sessions. Anything else, John, before we make this move over?
No, that's it.
Okay, so
we'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye, folks, and thank you so much. And see you in small groups.
And you can now unmute yourself and say goodbye, and we'll say goodbye for about 60 seconds. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, grazie.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Soren. Thank you, John.
Bye.
Soren.
Hey, Brenda.
See you in the small groups.
Everybody.
Susan.
Michael.
Ciao, grazie. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Prego.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Joseph.
Bye.
Dora.
How's it going?
Sorry, I was muted. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Joseph.
Someone said hello, but I don't know her. But hello.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.